When you live life quite literally in the fast lane and commute to most places by helicopter, or indeed your own private jet, it's refreshing now and again to swap the roar of the racetrack and the whirring of the rotor blades for the relative peace and tranquility of the golf course. Whether it's at the Pine Cliffs Golf Club along Portugal's Algarve coast, or on the Isle of Man with friends,
Well done, partner. Thanks, well done. Oh, boy.
at Monte Carlo or any other port of call on the Formula One circuit, at Woburn with one special friend, or indeed at home alone, Nigel Mansell indulges in his other great passion.
I call golf my mistress because I take my golf bag everywhere, and it's just fascinating. I believe it's the only game in the world that you can play with an 8-year-old or an 80-year-old person with handicap and still have a competitive game. And it just hooks you, and you just feel you want to get better and better. And the great thing with golf, you can play well one day and play a disastrous game the next day, but it keeps bringing you back. And for me, it's a big love affair.
And ironically, it was the woman in his life, his wife Roseanne, who introduced him to his new love.
We go back as far as 1977, after he had his bad accident in which he broke his neck. He was convalescing, having to wear a neck brace, getting pretty bored, as you can imagine. I was out at work and the hours seemed very long. And he thought about trying golf before, but never really had got around to it. So I said, well, I've got a surprise for you. I've booked you a golf lesson, don't forget. That's all I could manage. That's all the money we'd got. So we went along to the local golf pro and had this one golf lesson. And that was the start of it. He found he was quite good at it because he got the neck brace on. And, of course, in golf, you're not meant to move your head. And he couldn't really anyway because he got this neck brace on. His specialist had told him he must do a lot of walking. So that's what he started to do, walking. But, of course, he didn't belong to a golf club. He used to get up at some unearthly hour and go and queue up at the local municipal one. And that's when the passion started for golf.
You had your first lesson in Birmingham back in 1977. How long was it before you had your second one?
Probably about 2 months after, to save up enough money at that time to afford it. Might sound a little bit strange now, but at the time it was true.
And when did the golf bug bite you?
I think after the first game, after I broke a window and hit the ball completely the wrong way, which I still do now. I hit it the wrong way now, but more controlled.
Now here's Nigel with his homemade grip and his homemade style, but my word, how effective he is.
Slow.
Whoa!
Beautifully played. Stop.
You played in the Pro Celebrity Series in 1987 at Turnberry, and one of the world's foremost television commentators, Peter Ellis, was less than complimentary about your swing.
Yeah, he said, I think Peter said at that time, it's my homemade swing. And I don't disagree with that because, I mean, the thing is, and I played with the great players in the world, and I know a lot of them personally. I think Seve Ballesteros, many years ago, I think as long ago as 10 years ago, in 1981, when I played with him first on television, and I was playing with him and Lee Trevino. And he said, look, you can model certain things, but everybody's individual, and everybody has their swing, and what works for them might or might not work for you. And if it works for you, fine. If it doesn't, then do your own thing. And, Seve was a great inspiration, not only to me, but millions of others. And all I would say to people who criticise people's swings and that, my particular swing, I know it's not very elegant, but then they haven't broken their back twice, their neck once, and a few other problems as well. And therefore I can't physically swing the perfect swing because of, if you like, the pains that I have in the back, or disjoint, shall I say. But what I will say is that when my swing is working half decent and I'm out of pain, I can play a reasonable game of golf and I enjoy it. And I've had some great rounds. I mean, I have shot in the low 60s in competition. But the trouble is, it's not regular.
You've had to become a hand player because of these problems.
Yes, probably. I mean, my hand-eye coordination is the strongest point.
Got a great eye and strong arms and a good eye and hand coordination.
Well done. Stay there.
But I mean, to be fair, you have to put our professions first. Mine is motor racing, and this stresses the body, it stresses the back. The main stress that we have on our body is probably our neck and back. And any golfer will tell you that if you have a lot of pressure on your back to come out and then also play golf, we have to come out and just play it for enjoyment, not expect to play brilliantly.
Of course, nerves play a major part in any sport, and when you arrived here this morning and whacked a few balls in the range there, you look very much at home with the game.
Oh, I love the game, and one thing I promised myself is that when I have actually retired properly from motor racing, I wouldn't say I'll take it up professionally, but I'll take it up very seriously from the point of view that I will actually try and groove a swing, whether it be a homemade swing or a more elegant swing, but a swing that I can rely on and trust, so then I can stand up on the tee and know really where my ball's going to go. Whereas at the moment, I think you'll be the first to agree, I can hit some super shots, but equally within the next second I can hit some mediocre, if not awful, shots.
Well, your handicap's going up and down from 1 to around 5, and is that because of the availability of time, because of motor racing?
Yes, I mean, I joined Ferrari at a good, strong 2 handicap, and I was the 2 handicap for 4 years. And I didn't have too much of a problem playing off 2, and in my local club I could even win tournaments and, occasionally go around sub-par. But then when I joined Ferrari with the extra travel and working for an Italian-based team, the pressures were such that from playing sort of 2, 3 or 4 times a week, I was having a job to even play once a week, and therefore your game goes. But my profession is motor racing, that has to come first. And obviously this year I put all the priorities into the Cannon Williams Renault team. And I don't have any regrets about that. I'm paid to do a job, and they're doing a fantastic job for me, and we're trying to go for the World Championship, and therefore, you haven't got the time that you usually have on your hands.
What's the strongest part of your game?
My strongest part is, when I concentrate, is my chipping and putting.
Now, Nigel's second shot. Going to give it a good old thrash with his 8 or 9 iron.
Perfect, well done. Marvellous.
Great shot, look at it, off the slope. Beautifully judged.
Marvellous shot. Marvellous. Look at who's going to...
And the weakest part of your game?
Probably off the tee. Just not really having the confidence of what to hit. If I actually pull back a club and say, look, I don't want to try and hit this 275 or 280 yards, which I can occasionally, and say, look, just hit it 220, 240 without stretching yourself, then I can keep it under control. And that's sometimes when I play the best golf.
Now, here's Nigel Mansell. A little bit of a crude grip here, you might say, but my word, does he give it a good spank.
What a shot. Hell, that's on the green. That is on... I'll tell you what, if it gets a right bounce, it's green high.
Now, what about that one? Well, I've been coming here for 20 years and I've never seen a longer drive than that, even though they went from a slightly forward tee. Tremendous drive there.
Well, this is one of the longest drives I've ever seen here on the opening hole at Turnberry. It's it's almost level with the front of the green. I think what a lot of people don't realise is in your profession, Nigel, you've almost got Popeye arms, and one tends to think of motor cars nowadays being road cars being so well sprung that there's no. So is there a hell of a lot of vibration, or where do you get all this enormous strength from?
Well, you have such enormous G loads. Normal G loading is sort of 2.5 acceleration, deceleration, over or in excess of 4G lateral going around corners.
So it's almost like, in layman's terms, the old Charles Atlas, dynamic tension. The muscles are pulling and pushing against one another.
No, we're not that strong, but we're in good shape.
Well, you nearly crushed me. It's got a bone crusher handshake. Well, this was an enormous drive. One day they may put a plaque there.
You've seen the progress of motor racing Grand Prix cars over the last 10 years or so. There's been a big change in golf equipment as well. And you're now playing with a fire stick, I believe, the carbon and titanium. And
no, it's incredible, and I think some of the top golfers in the world today don't actually agree with it, because it can help a lot of mediocre players and put them right at the forefront. But I still think the great players stay there, and they still beat the people that just shoot up overnight. But I mean, the technology now in golf is quite phenomenal, isn't it?
Yes, we've seen your garage is kind of like an Aladdin's cave. It would do a local club professional shop proud. Do you think maybe your handicap's gone up and down by the way you change clubs so often?
Oh, there's no question about it. But you see, the thing is that I made up my mind. I mean, I played off a low handicap and very, very good, and kept the same set of clubs in the bag. But I mean, I wasn't enjoying it because I was so low that I was under pressure to play good all the time. And now, off my handicap 4 or 5, whatever it is, I enjoy it, and I change clubs to experiment and enjoy. And if you hit that one absolutely great shot, I mean, that's enough some days.
Now Nigel from the front of the green, pitching wedge, little jabby one. Jabbed it well by the look of it. Is it in? Oh, unlucky, sir.
I mean, you're continually searching for an edge in the way that your mechanic fine-tunes your car.
Yeah, and the thing is, I played with enough of great players to realise that they don't become great overnight. That, you know, for instance, Nick Fowler will be the first to tell you that he went down on the practice ground years ago for 7 hours a day. Practice, practice, practice. And if you ask most amateurs what they do, go to a driving range 1 hour a week and that's it. I mean, it's not a lot of work done.
Well, that brings us to gurus. Now, you're very much a self-made player, whereas Nick Faldo has decided he didn't like the way he played, so he's gone to David Ledbetter to change things. Will you go to somebody when you have more time?
Maybe. I don't know. It depends how my body is and what shape I'm in. I mean, the greatest person who's had a great influence on my game is Greg Norman, because he knows me as a person and understands, and he hasn't really tried to remodel much. He just says play the percentages, and he proved that to me. He said, look, whatever your swing is today, he said, let me manage your course management. And on some of the holes I was taking wood out the back, and he said, well, what are you doing that for? You can't get home. He said, but you can hit it long enough to get into trouble. He said, you know, lay up short of the bunkers and give yourself always 120 to 150 yards into the green. One, you won't be in the bunkers, and you save yourself getting into trouble, especially when it's water. And he managed my game on this one particular day, and he saved me 4 shots in the back 9. He's going through a hard time at the moment, but he can flash back at any time. Just brilliant, and you know, and I'm very proud to say a great friend of mine.
And there's a similarity really between you and Greg. You're known for your charge from the back of the field through to winning Grand Prix, and Greg's a bit the same in the last round of major competitions.
Although I think we're both trying to mellow a little bit and try and win from the front, it's a lot easier. But I mean, golf has a lot of similarities to motor racing, and I think that's why I have such a good affinity with a lot of professional golfers. They can see the stresses and strains in our game, and I can reciprocate them and see what they have to go through in golf. And people underestimate golf. They think golf is a fairly easy, relaxed game, but at the level that they play at, I mean, it takes a lot of doing. Greg's flair for golf is just is sensational, and he attacks, and he's not so mechanical. So occasionally a ball goes a little bit wayward, he gets into trouble, but then he's sensational, just like Seve Ballesteros. He gets out of trouble so well too, and that's what makes the game so interesting. And the fascinating thing with golf, I think, with all professionals, and I apologise for not mentioning them all because they're all great players in their own right, is that you see a good tour or professional get in any kind of trouble, and you look how good they get out of it. And that's the mark of a great player, how well they get out of trouble.
Good poached egg bar. No, it's easy. It's come out there pretty easy.
Oh! Oh, good part, Greg.
And what does the great Greg Norman think about Nigel Mansell's golf game?
Well, that's potential for anything, doesn't it? Oh, you answer.
The silence is golden, isn't it? No, you know, like anything, if you work at it, you can be as good as what you want to be. You know, and one great thing about golf is it's up to yourself. And Nigel's ability is all natural. You know, he's got great hand-eye coordination. Like any athlete who, you know, racing car driver, you need a great hand-eye coordination, and golf's the same deal. Even though we're not doing 200 down the back straight, you still need that coordination in your body, in the feel of your body, to be able to do it. And he can do it. And it just depends on how far you want to go with it. I mean, if I want to improve as a fisherman or a driver myself, I guess I have to go work harder at it. But, you know, and he loves the game, and if you love the game that much, you go one step ahead of everybody else.
And what about Greg's driving?
Terrible. Absolutely shocking. He gets plenty of tickets, so that's a good start. No, I mean, it's just as he said, I mean, just the opposite. You know, Greg could be a great race car driver. The only thing which is really good, which I like, is that he's a physical size that is too big. Otherwise, he could be incredibly dangerous in a car. But I mean, Greg doesn't even have to work at it too much. I mean, he's gone in celebrity races and he's come third. He's been right up there in the forefront. But I'm pleased as a golfer, not a race car driver.
So as Nigel takes control of the joysticks and leaves the practice ground at Woburn, we don't quite know who won the match, but Nigel just about to get his own back, showing Greg Norman a close-up of the English countryside. Off goes Nigel Mansell, in comes Nick Faldo for a pro-celebrity match at the Quietwaters Golf Club in Colchester in Essex. Nigel with the Yonex driver there, trying to get the ball on top of the helicopter. It looked close, but I can assure you there was plenty of room there. Yours truly was there, just taking a look at the Mansell golf game. Interesting to have a look at the grip on the driver. Perhaps how hard he holds the steering wheel has something to do with the two marks of the thumbs on the top end of the shaft.
It's not very good. We've established something straight away today. My golf is absolute rubbish.
So now Nigel obviously going to try and loosen the pressure of his fingers.
Look, I shall hold this club. I shall hold this club right without putting the pressure points on, all right? And swing back.
Point taken by Nigel, but of course in between there's a happy medium. The first thing that strikes you when you meet Mansell is the crushing handshake, and perhaps that's got something to do with a strong grip on the Formula One steering wheel. But he's a very talented player. Here what we're trying to do is get the pressure points in the fingers rather than the thumbs.
Oh, how about that then now?
Now let's see if that makes a difference. Now this is Mansell's swing 87 and the 1991 model on the left, and just take a look at the difference. Take away much the same there, but now look at the left wrist. On the right-hand picture it's arched, on the left-hand picture it's underneath the shaft. And look at the difference in posture. Much straighter now in 1991, and in 1987, take a look at the low hand position at the end. There's no question Mansell doesn't have a lot of time to play, but the time he has, he makes excellent use of it. And so enter arguably the world's #1 golfer, Englishman Nick Faldo. Faldo won 5 tournaments back in the early 80s and then decided to remodel his golf swing. Since then, he's won 4 major championships, 2 Masters and 2 British Opens. There are certain similarities, too, between the two players. You can see wide arms on the way back there, very similar indeed at that point. As we carry on, Faldo moves the weight more onto his right side, Nigel stays on his left. Club shaft almost identical there, and the club face. As they move through, Faldo you can see just a little wider, but with Mansell's problems in the back and neck, he's got to become more of a hand player. But if you look at the shape of the body now and the way through, they really are very similar indeed. So Faldo warming up on the practice ground before the challenge match that was to take place that day. And you can see even for them it's not that easy. Try again.
David Ledbetter.
David Ledbetter, of course, the man that Faldo employed to make his new swing. This is the one in action. Now, another couple of athletes I'm sure you'll notice. On the left, Beefy Botham. And you can see he's quite a handy golfer too. And on the other side, Daley Thompson. Perhaps when he ends his athletic career, his aspirations have been a golfer. Well, I think it may take a little longer than Mansell or Botham. So, just putting the finishing touches before he goes to the first tee, I felt that Mansell's ball position was too far forward. So that gave him the opportunity to have a look himself. So having agreed on that, he's going to take up the new position, the ball, in line with his left heel. It's as simple as that.
It's gone miles. Yeah, because he's got that one. I don't want you in it. Come on.
It was at that point I let the world's #1 coach, David Ledbetter, take over. The start of the day, of course, all these superstars have to put up with the press, the media, all the interviews, all the autograph signing, and Mansell does it really in fine form. And the fans of all ages coming up, that young girl experiencing the Mansell crush. Now, an unusual request for Nigel Mansell. This young lady's mother was in a car crash and she wants him to do a video message.
Nigel, would you please? Let me just do this for the lady. What did she do now?
She pulled out on the blind end and someone just went smashing into her.
What's your name?
It's Wendy. Her name's
Judy.
Julie.
Julie, okay.
All right?
Well, for all these people, I got to
Go on,
can't be having a great game. No, I hope you're well. I hope you haven't got too much of a bad headache, and I hope you get out of hospital soon. You better tell your daughter to behave herself.
Where's the auto cue?
Yeah, I know.
Nigel now off this slope, and it was a nasty place.
One of the benefits, of course, in playing in the pro celebrity matches is you're never short of a bit of professional advice. Here at Turnberry, Nigel's partner was the Australian Roger Davis.
Good shot,
did
Nigel.
too.
Nigel, grab your sand wedge again. When you're in thick grass like this, and the main way you play the shot is virtually just like a bunker shot. You know, in a bunker shot, you know, the main idea is to follow through. Now, because it's very difficult to catch the ball first, you're going to catch the grass first, like you did. Because you don't follow through, the ball just pops out in front of you into the rough. Whereas we'll come in somewhere about 2 or 3 inches behind the ball and just play a bunker shot with the club face open. But you must follow through, and when you follow through, the ball will just pop up nice and soft.
Beautiful.
Just like
You
that.
must follow through. And the ball will come out softly as long as you follow through.
Oh, well, that's the fun part of golf.
Yeah, why not?
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But in one word, you've got to practice. You've got to have a lot of confidence to actually be able to stand on that tee and say to yourself, right, you're going to hit it, you know, in the crosswind, and you're going to make it fade into the wind and land on the fairway there, or you want to play it left or play it right. And I think the most interesting point of golf is that it all begins at the address. If you address the ball correctly, then most of the other things will follow suit. But if you have an incorrect address, i.e. if you line yourself up in the wrong direction but want the ball to go somewhere else, you're already cross. You know, your sort of feet are pointing one way, your shoulders are pointing another, and your hips might be in between. And so it's very, very important to sort of, you know, acknowledge exactly what you want to do before you get on the tee. And when you're standing there, line yourself up, and then again, just as all the great players in the world today, you'll see how meticulous they are at setting themselves up. And of course in tour play, because there's only 2 or 3 of them, they have this time to do it. And sometimes when you're playing as an amateur like we do, sometimes when we get on a golf course, we intimidate ourselves by saying we're taking too long over a shot. And there are a lot of people that do take too long over a shot, but we should give ourselves just that 1 or 2 seconds more just to sort of put the blade of the club behind the ball and say, right, this is what we want to do, and then clear the mind, and then just take the way of the swing just on the line that we want and hit the ball.
How we move forward about 30 yards, which really Nigel doesn't need. He doesn't need to be given length from the tee, the power he has.
Oh, get down.
It's a long one.
Kick right, ball. Perfect shot. Very nice.
See what I mean? It's 30, 40, 50, 60 yards past the pros. Some of the reasons why: a nice, comfortable address position, knees nicely bent, a strong grip with the left hand. Really shows too many knuckles with the left hand, and the left wrist at the top of the swing, they're very shut. Big driving leg action, tremendous left hip movement. See how he whips that hand out of the way? The hands finish a bit low, scything action, but my, it works. Your relationship with Greg Norman is causing a lot of interest. They're all a bit worried you're going to teach him all his skills of racing driving, and you're going to have all his golfing. How did the two of you get together?
That's amazing, really. We played in the Pro-Am in Australia last year, and then basically we spent 4 days together. And he was in one of the races at the Australian Grand Prix. And we went out to the Speedway because he was practicing there with David Graham. And of course he had all these instructors telling him exactly how it should be done around this Speedway track. So I said, I'll come out and have a bit of fun with you. So of course you can imagine what I showed him. And he went out then and sort of took about 4 seconds a lap off his time. Went out with his instructor, and his instructor just went, my God.
And does he have skills?
Oh yeah, he's very talented, very good driver.
Yeah.
He came 3rd or 4th in the race.
Did he?
Yeah, very good.
Driving what sort of car?
It was a saloon type car, but a little bit of power. It had, I think, upwards of 200 horsepower.
One of our fellow commentators, Alex Hay, was telling me, told the nation that they actually took a £5 note off you at Woburn, but I think he forgot to say that it took a fiver off Greg. He forgot to say that it was you and he off handicap playing Greg in the
Well, no, all flat, no shots.
Oh, no shots?
No shots, no, all flat, but Woburn...
He didn't exaggerate all that much.
No, Woburn we played well, and I think we had 2 or 3 birdies, and Greg hit some ginormous balls, but of course they were in the woods. Poor dear me, I mean, you know, I can sit here embarrassingly so and proud of the fact that I've actually been in the Australian Open, as you know, a few years back. And I say embarrassingly so because we got a lot of, shall we say, innuendo by a lot of lesser professionals saying I shouldn't have even been there, I shouldn't have been given a wild card. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, but I think it adds a lot of character. As long as you haven't got a person out there making an ass of themselves, I think it can give something to the Open. And Australia was generous enough, and the sponsors, to give me this wild card. But on the first day, when I shot 77, and I was 1 under par for the first 5 holes, I wasn't even breathing properly. I never knew what pressure was until I'd entered that tournament. I mean, everything was, you know, it was sort of muscle-bound in the arms, and I mean, when I sort of sunk the birdie putt on the 5th hole, and I was first up on the 6th tee, I couldn't even breathe. I was panting because I was so nervous. I mean, 1 under in an Open, you know, in an Australian Open, and then of course I hooked one straight off the tee into the rough and double bogeyed the next hole. But the funny thing was that when I double bogeyed, I'd relaxed a bit more and I could breathe. So I mean, the feelings, that's something you've got to get used to.
Still, as I was saying earlier, Tim, Ed Dattles is feeling very nervous here, and I know just how you and I would be feeling behind the steering wheel of a Formula One, mate.
What would you call that head movement?
Oh, pretty darn good, Pete.
Hey, we better try that, you and I.
Yeah, I mean, the night before, it was quite funny. I mean, Greg had to get a brandy down me to calm me down the night before. I don't think I had any sleep. And I said, if this is supposed to be fun, well, I don't think I'll bother, you know. But, I mean, even on the first tee, when there was a few thousand people around, I mean, I duck hooked one straight into the woods into a car park, you know, and I'm thinking, oh no, this is the first shot. And then I had to get an official ruling as well and hold the proceedings up as to whether I get a free drop or not. But the moral to that story was I got a free drop and I made par on the hole and went on to the next. But it's totally different because you're open, you've got no armour on. Being a Formula One driver, you hide in a helmet, you hide in your overalls, you're strapped into a car, so you've got pressure on your body. And, you know, you're just going past everybody at sort of near enough 200 miles an hour. So you're a little bit divorced from it. But when you're walking on the golf course, when there's literally hundreds, if not thousands of people either side and behind, you're open to it all, and you're very, very exposed. I mean, the experience was just sensational, and now I just love to have the confidence. You see, it's confidence. I was all right, and I was doing my own thing, and then I realised when I made birdie that everybody was there and watching, and all of a sudden I was, you know, I was sort of looking around thinking, they're there watching me, and I was cocooned before, and it was just a bit more pressure I put myself under, but I managed on the first day to get over it, but I was still playing then, I might add, with a little bit of injury.
You were very modest about your swing a few moments ago. There are similarities, and you follow through to that of Greg Norman.
Well, I wouldn't know that. All I know is that my swing can vary week by week, day by day, but I have worked on it a little bit. I mean, I was fired up after I went into the Australian Open, and I spent a lot of time in the winter months trying to remodel it. The problem was I remodeled it okay to the point that I lost my old swing, and then I didn't know where I was. And if I'm truthful, it's taken me a couple of years to get back to where I am now. And that's why I'm not a great believer in changing your swing too much, unless you've got time then to actually get in the groove with it and actually know and trust the new one. And to do that, you've got to spend hour upon hour, day upon day, and week upon week to do the job.
What little time Nigel Mansell does have to practice, he spends that time here, Ballyman, his hideaway home on the cliff tops on the Isle of Man. It boasts 3 holes, a par 3, a par 4 and a par 5. Just rewards for what's been an outstanding driving career, and the similarities between this and his life really, on the edge.
This is basically the field in front of the house, which we've converted to a driving range. This tee we're actually standing on here is a par 3 tee. We have one big golf green up there with a tremendous bunker, and we have a par 4 tee down there. And we're in the process of, over this field behind here and down the hill a little bit, of putting a par 5 tee in. So it's basically one hole with 3 different tees and one very big green. It's 2,000 square feet up there. And with the wind, if the wind blows, the prevailing winds from the west, but we get easterlies as well, and then from the south and north. Yeah, it can change, just this one field can change. You can sometimes hit a 3-iron off this tee to get to the green, and sometimes it's only a 9-iron. So it's a lot of fun, but the main thing is I can come out the front door and my children, and especially my wife, know where I am. And I come and just practice for hours. Not that you would tell on the golf course sometimes, because practice is not the same as playing, and you can hit some tremendous balls practicing, but when you get out there for real, it goes wrong. Here, Frizz. And 3 very faithful girls behind. Abby, Frisbee and Kizzy. And who's the sloppy one? And if I fuss you now, the other two will come. Come on, go back there. Go on, back. I know, I know. Come on, good girl. Come here. Right now. Up. And we have Frisbee here. And Kizzy. Abby and Kizzy are the old girls. They're about 11 now. Yeah, sit, 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 sit. Hey, and they get all jealous. Sit, Abby. You gonna shake hands? You gonna shake hands? Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Hey. Hey, you just pinched my ball. Shall we have a game then? Shall we have a game? Oh, sit. Up, up, up. Abby, drop, drop. Drop it. Hey, come here, come here. Come here. Abby, Kizzy, come on then, we'll play now for you. Right, you ready then, girls? You ready? Fetch! Come on then. Go on, man, you can... Come on. It should be very good.
Nigel cooking on the barbecue. He's not actually joined the Red Arrows, but he's got Tim Miller, the squadron leader of the famous Red Arrows, and his group along with him here for the sausage and mash. So from the barbecue to Castletown links on the Isle of Man and a Force 8 gale. Not the ideal weather conditions, but as you can see, Nigel, not a fair weather golfer.
I didn't think you could
Tim
see
Miller
that far,
has
Bob.
this putt for a birdie. Plays golf the other way around, left-handed.
Oh, the afterburners on that one.
Well, I'm sure Tim flies a bit better than that.
Just zoom in on the pine cliffs there, will you?
Nigel dreaming of the sunshine in Portugal. A far cry from the cliff tops.
Oh! Bob! That almost got 2 red arrows in one.
So the grey rocks that border the Isle of Man, and down below, the murky waters of the Irish Sea. And that there is not the great white variety. But we move from there to the lovely blue ocean, beautiful sandy beaches. And up on top of the hill, danger still lurks. But danger still lurks. The 6th hole, Devil's Parlour, a 200-metre drive across twin ravines of unrivalled colour and intimidating depth, luring the player to deeds of honour or, of course, self-destruction.
This is a hole that sport many a golfer score, isn't it? Dear me. Look at that view. Wind's got up a bit too now. Beautiful. Let's have a look at this hole now. What we've got here, this is why, it's probably obvious why we've called it the Devil's Parlour. You can see that we've got to carry, in fact, we've got to carry 210 yards before we get over the second cliff down there, the gorge, and you can see the green just in front of the hotel. But I mean, what a magnificent hole, and needless to say, if your ball goes down there, don't even think about going to find it. What do you reckon we need here then, besides the big prayer? Winds left to right, yeah. We got to hit a good 2 or 3 iron, haven't we?
2.
No, let's hit a 3 iron, let the wind use it a bit. Big 3 iron. Try and play the percentage. We've got to be on the left-hand corner there, haven't we? Otherwise we could be in a bit of trouble. And let it just chase onto the front of the green. This should just clear. Stay with it, don't worry about the wind, Nigel. I mean, we're standing here. I think there's many a professional that look at this shot today and say it's not easy. I mean, it probably frightens quite a few amateurs, but what we have a couple of tees further on which we'll show you, which you can go off. So if you don't make it, you have a dropping area up here. But I mean, really challenging. But what you can do, if you just mentally block out those gorges and just say to yourself, right, you've got to carry across those, and once you get across there, try and hit a real good shot, and the ball will be on the green somewhere. Let's give it a go. Just stay with it, Nigel.
We did have a cameraman there, but sadly, he's no longer with us. He took one step too far and he's lying plugged and unplayable at the bottom of the ravine.
That's not too bad. I think we had plenty of club there. Just missed the green to the right with this wind today.
Breaking up.
Yeah, beautiful hole. Okay, well, you can see Devil's Parlour. It's quite extraordinary, isn't it? Obviously, you can have a look at the cliffs, the beach. Down here, the second gorge. If you're feeling quite keen and very athletic, you can see the steps being built over there, and you can come up the gorge here to try and find your ball. But I can recommend you don't do it. But hopefully we've cleared the gorge, and I think we're over in the trees on the right. But I mean, what a sensational hole. I mean, I think it's far better for the pictures to tell the story. Marvellous hole, marvellous.
Well, the cameraman didn't make it, but Nigel did, but he's
Okay.
found a little bit of trouble on the right-hand
Let's see,
side.
we've got two choices, a low bump and run, or maybe we go for a sand wedge and try and just keep it to the left of that branch. And so just playing the percentage shot now. But I mean, that's another tip. I think the best professional that gave me some advice was years ago when I was playing off a handicap of 15, and he turned around to me when we were playing a game of golf. He said, why are you trying to beat me off every tee? Why are you trying to outplay me on every hole? He says, I'm giving you 15 shots. He said, I don't have any. He said, play to your shots. He said, you know, and all of a sudden, within a few holes, I was playing better than I was before because I was playing sensible golf and playing percentage golf. Okay, here we go. Important thing, stand still, swing through the ball, pick your spot and just do enough to get over.
Well, if Nigel doesn't win a major championship, he can always become a golf commentator.
Go on, go on. Whoa! Okay. All right, so the main thing is we're on the green, and luck has it that we're putting uphill for the next shot. Oh dear. Devil's Parlour. Be nice to get this hole out of the way. Get in. Oh. So we'll just have a tap in for an easy bogey 4. But I mean, when you look back, and let's take just a second to look back on this hole because it is absolutely magnificent hole. Devil's Parlour. You can see the gorge, you can see the green, you can see the contours of the green. If I just move across camera here and see the hillocks. I mean, the green, even looking at it round here, it looks a straight putt. And it's got a subtle borrow in it. But I mean, absolute marvellous, marvellous hole.
I think it's ideal for him. I think it's the way that helps him relax because he can get on the golf course, get away from the phones and people, and get away from, you know, all the hassle and have a bit of peace and just enjoy the game. So it's a case of if you can't beat them, you've got to join them. That's why I said, well, I think I'll have to take up the game as well. But it's something that I want to get to grips with, but it's time, and to be fair, I haven't put the amount of time into it yet that I think it obviously needs. Hopefully when the little one's at school, I shall have more time and really stick at it, concentrate on it. It's going to be part of our lives, especially with coming to live over here for part of the year as well. It's going to be very much part of our lives.
Well done! Big hit. Now let's get a kindly kick off the tree. I don't think it's come down from the tree.
I think golf is a great surprise. I
I think what I would like to do, I mean, this is one of my dreams. It's not a surprise. It's one of my dreams. It's one of my ambitions. It's the love of my life after my family, and that is, I really would like to get or obtain a standard of golf whereby I could perhaps compete as an amateur on some of the tour events. I mean, this golf course isn't long, but I mean, today it's quite troublesome in places. I've played 1 over par, and I'm very pleased with that. And at one time, I was 2 under. So without the few hiccups I had, I could have finished quite well. And I played today with our touring pro, which is Daniel De Silva, which has shot the new course record here today, which is 3 under. And I figure only sort of being 4 off him because he played exceptionally well and he's made a lot of cuts recently and has played exceptionally well. Now my game is improving. I think you can always learn something from anybody. I think also that when you wake up every day, you should have a feeling and a view that you should be able to learn something every day of your life. And I think if you can't, I think that's the day you die. With regards to golf, if you want to improve any game in any sport, you should always play with people better than yourself. I mean, Peter Allis, what a great character, great golfer in his time, and a superb commentator. And, you know, Peter's an advocate of that.
Here's Nigel's second. See how he throws his body at it, but it's such a good, keen eye.
Whoa! Oh, it just ran over the back. It's so firm up there, Nigel. Yeah. It was a great shot, hell.
Great shot it was indeed.
I think the truth of the game is that basically it's down to the human elements, and it's down to you as a person with whatever talent or skill you have, and just hitting that ball. 1 club, 1 ball, 1 swing, and away it goes. And I think from that point of view, it is it's fascinating and it's fantastic because other than the engineering that goes into the manufacture of the club and the ball, it's all down to the human element. You know, what score you get, how good a shot you make, and percentages. And it's often been said that 80% of the game of golf is in the mind. And I'm a strict believer in that.
Oh, and he does very well indeed. Cuts it very fine.
Direction would have been better, would have been.
Perhaps been a bit hard on himself there. The direction could have been better. It was an excellent touch shot. Oh, took nearly all of the hole round there like the wall of death.
What is, in your view, your favourite, funniest golf gag?
At the moment,
yeah.
Mansell's handicap off 6. I mean, that is the funniest at the moment. And of 5 he's gone down to, yes, we'll get him to 2 at the end.
My goodness, what's Sam doing there? Looks like a carrot.
Now then, I remember in the 1989 Ryder Cup matches of running around in the golf cart doing a million other things, but all the time I had to have carrots on the cart, delivering them to Sam Torrance's match. Tell me a bit about it.
Well, funnily enough, it came through Nigel last year at the Lancome, 2 years ago actually. I was playing with Greg Norman, and he comes out with his carrot on the course, and it's an unusual thing for someone to bring out. You might bring an apple or a banana or something, but a carrot. And I asked him what the reason was. They said that Nigel told them that it's very good for neutralising the acid in your body. So you obviously feel much more relaxed, and I have not played a round of golf without eating carrots since then.
And is that, where's that come from, Nigel? Obviously doctors and nutritionists.
Yeah, it came from basically our chef at Ferrari. And when I joined Ferrari, one of the things or rituals I had to go through when I arrived there in the morning is to eat raw carrot. And for the first few weeks, it was pretty difficult, but I mean now I can't do that.
Really?
I mean my stomach's never been better in sort of 10, 11 years on the circuit.
Great. Well, it'll be raw carrot for me tomorrow morning.
You see better in the dark.
And absolutely nothing wrong with Nigel Mansell's eyesight. After another sparkling second shot, raining down the flag, Mansell has this 10-footer left for yet another birdie. Study of concentration, knows the line just about left lip. And it's looking good. Partner's absolutely delighted, and why not? Now to the 9th hole. Second shot of 210 yards. Difficult lie, 2 ball below him, so hanging lie, ball should move a bit from left to right, and if that's not enough, he's got to carry the water as well. Beautiful clean hit. And Mansell showing his true class, carries the water. The ball nearest the flag this side is Nick Faldo's.
Gary Player is another advocate of what Seve says, and I'm just about to say that now, and that is everyone's an individual in this world. No one's the same height as such, no one's the same build, everyone's different. And therefore, why should everybody have the same swing? And basically, in 2 words or 3 words, Gary Player and Seve are advocates. Whatever works for you, play to it.
The last time I saw you play, Nigel, you had a broken wrist, but you were so keen, you kept spraying it with some magic stuff and bashing away. You remember that game?
Yes, it was a good excuse, wasn't it?
It was one of the best I've ever heard. Handicap now?
6.
6. Tony, have you seen this man hit it?
Looking forward to it. I've heard the rumours of his practice round yesterday. I just
Well,
hope he can
yeah, he's
repeat.
a frustrated golf pro. Or amateur champion. He's going to be an amateur champion as well as a racing champion. I'll spin a coin, Nigel. And I'll give you the chance of calling. Are you good at calling? This is a sovereign.
Tony will have heads, I'll have tails. Either way, we win.
Tails, you're saying?
That's heads, thank you.
You can have it. You can have the honour, sir. You have the
Let me tell
choice.
you one thing though about this game. I'm sure that Nigel must find this a piece of cake after his game, because if we make a mistake in his game, that's it. At least tomorrow, Tony, if we play badly, we come out again.
We'll live to fight another day, right?
I think some of the pains that some of the great professionals go through, and my sympathy at this moment in time goes out to Sandy Lyle, because, you know, what a fabulous player, and, you know, Open champion, Masters champion. And, I mean, the press have given him, shall we say, an indifferent time. And now he's going to various people for instruction. Now, if that's all right for Sandy, then that's fine. But for me, he's such a great player that I think maybe he just wants to spend time with himself and with one particular individual, and then just get back to where he was, because where he was before, he was one of the greatest in the world. And for me, Sandy still has the potential to still be exactly that. What I do is, I think you have to have perhaps one person. It might be a trainer, it might be a friend, it might be your wife, whereby you can go and do something together and be at one. Someone can actually see with another pair of eyes exactly what you're doing with the swing or whatever, but then give you confidence. Because, I mean, let's be honest about it, with someone of calibre that we're talking about with Sandy Lyle, to actually go back to basics, and I'm not a teacher, and I know the teachers will go, he doesn't know a word he's saying. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's the Nick Faldo, it's the Greg Normans, it's the Sandy Lyles, you know, it's the Curtis Strangers, and the Jack Nicklauses. I mean, look how strong Jack is still. They've done it themselves. I mean, they're out there on the golf course hitting the balls. I'm not denying they've had coaching, they've had help, but at the end of the day, it's the individual. It's not like in our game. Right, to get my car on the grid, you have to have 200 or 300 people put their input into that machinery for it to work. But when a golfer goes on that first tee, he has his caddy, which is very important. His caddy is very, very important. And then he has his golf equipment, which again is very important, and his balls that he chooses. But that's it, right? They're on their own. The caddy can be a fantastic help, and there's some wonderful professional caddies out there. And but at the end of the day, it's only one person swinging that club and hitting that ball. And that, for me, is why I love it.
And Nigel does get a lot of enjoyment out of the game, and a bit of fun this time, at Nick Faldo's expense. But when the chips are down, the concentration moves up a gear. Mansell with a chip and run at 10. Using the contours there, left to right, then right to left, and he plays that shot to absolute perfection. Yet another birdie for Nigel Mansell.
You said one of your ambitions a couple of years ago was to play in the last 2 rounds of the British Open. How realistic are you about that?
It's a very, very difficult one, isn't it? I mean, first and foremost, I've got to get down to scratch when I've retired. I don't know how feasible that is. It's a question of how much time one wants to put in. What I shall look at it is when I've retired, and I shall take a year off. I've promised myself a year sabbatical when I have actually retired. And then I shall make an assessment at the end of the year. I would think really that if I played consistently then and stayed with my equipment, that I would probably be close off scratch or maybe even marginally better. And then, you know, try and actually qualify for it like anyone else. I mean, try and enter it, and if one qualifies, then absolutely sensational. And then if you can make the cut, then so much again.
You're very much your own man. You fly your own aeroplane and helicopter. Don't you trust anyone?
I trust an awful lot of people. It's just that I get enormous enjoyment by doing things myself, and you know, if I can sort of you know, fly helicopters and planes as well and do various other things, then that's fulfilling my life.
At the end of what is no doubt going to be a brilliant racing career, what does the future hold for Nigel Mansell?
Oh, I wish I knew.
So when the curtain finally comes down on Nigel's Formula One racing career, he can always retire to Pine Cliffs. That's the par 3 9th, 155 metres, and would you believe it's called the Checkered Flag.
As an amateur I'm talking, not as a professional. As an amateur in golf, it's a fantastic sport for many reasons, because at 8 or 5 you can start, and at 80 you can play still with handicap. And there isn't a day that you can't get out there on the golf course and not enjoy yourself. And if you don't enjoy yourself, there is only one person to blame, and that's you.
The Open might be a pipe dream for all of us, but don't discount Nigel Mansell. From one courageous and talented showman, I'll leave you with another, Noel Hunt, and his one-man golf show. I hope you've enjoyed it. I have. Bye-bye.